Welcome back to episode 3 of Coastal Fitness TV. This week I've got for you some home gym buys for Black Friday, as well as I'm going to show you what a hover buckle up is. And lastly, I'm going to share a tip on recording your wins. Stick around. So seeing as Black Friday is coming up very, very soon, I wanted to highlight a few different items that I really like for outfitting a very tight space, low budget home gym workout equipment. And I'm going to highlight a few of the items here and give you a few next steps from there. Now, the whole idea that I want to clarify first is that with a home gym workout, like I've already alluded to, you want it to be fairly quick, you want it to be efficient, you want it to be very space friendly, so you don't need a ton of equipment to take up a bunch of space. This is meant to be able to fit within a second bedroom or even like a less than 100 square feet sort of thing in either in the room, a hallway, or even a garage if you have that space. But this is meant to be sort of the very initial places that I like to start that give you the ability to do so much more with just basic equipment. Now, I like to start off with this one, or any version of it. There's about 400 different variations of discs or sliders, as we call them, and then you can combo them up with mini bands, as you can see here. They run for around 20 bucks, and this is on the Canadian Amazon, so be aware of that. But very easy combo pack for 20 bucks, which is amazing considering that we first paid for our Val slides for about 40 bucks a pair. And so since then they've come up with a ton of different versions of it, but here you can get the combo pack for 20 bucks, and that gives you sliders, resisted bands, what we call mini bands, and there's a ton of exercises that you can do with just these two pieces of equipment. Like I said, this is an arbitrary version of the combo. There are a ton, and they allow you to do a ton of different exercises and different stuff. So next we're going into a suspension trainer. This is probably the cheapest version that I was able to find on Amazon here, and this is to be very simple, very similar to the TRX suspension trainers that we have in the gym. You can see this little guy is meant to go over your, or in the door, so you can anchor it and use it kind of how she is. You don't necessarily need it to anchor into a wall or a ceiling or a stud or anything like that. You can overlap it over a door. I think they show it. Oh, maybe not. But either way, it's probably one of the most beneficial things for any sort of pulling exercises, but you can do a ton of other stuff as well, as you may have either felt from the gym or just seen on other things. But 40 bucks is pretty great for something like that. And yeah, suspension trainer, great for pulling and so much more. But after those two, this is where I go into the strength bands. This we use the green one here, or the lightest weight we use for a lot of our band resisted exercises. And maybe even into the yellow, or the second one. Into the third and fourth one, that's where we're using for assistance, either for push-ups, pull-ups, or like really heavy rowing or something like that. But again, for 4 bands, that's why I picked this combo for 40 bucks. It's really good. And again, if you're just using, like if you don't have any weight at home, like any weights or kettlebells, dumbbells, doesn't matter, you can still get some good pulling and rowing exercises done with some heavy bands. You just have to have something that you can anchor it to that's either heavy enough or is solid enough. And lastly, I find this to be like it's a great door frame pull-up bar. I find them to be pretty consistent. I'm 200 pounds, and the one that I have has held me. It's never fallen, provided you anchor it correctly. But the nice thing is, though, right here, right in the middle where my mouse is, you can see that there's a connector. And what I like to do there is when I'm assembling it, I'll put in some of the resistance bands up there, or you can very easily loop it through one of these handles here, and that way you can basically have it so that you can use it to assist you as you pull up, or you can use it as an assistance for the push-up if you do it as well. The trick to this, though, is you're stuck in a hallway, or a door frame, I should say, which can be fairly space unfriendly, or like you feel cramped, but it is possible. It just needs a little bit of creativity. Now this is where I find things get pretty split. So up to this point, we're basically at the $153 mark, which, considering for a home gym, is not too bad. There's a ton of exercises that you can do with these four things, and it's probably the best place to start, provided you have some guidance, or have a little bit of creativity and understand a little bit of body weight exercises and stuff like that. Where it gets a little bit more interesting is when you get into adjustable weight. So I didn't have this available when I was purchasing my kettlebell, so I got a size run of cast iron kettlebells, and which take up quite a bit of space. And from 12 kilos to 32 kilos, that's a really good size run, because most people are really going to be using 12 kilos to, I would even say 20 kilos, depending on the exercise, but that's pretty consistent. Now, this is great for space savings. It's not going to use a ton of space in your house. However, you do have to basically unscrew the cap. That's the bottom of it right here. So you'd have to unscrew it, load it or unload it, screw it back on, and then you'd be back into the running. So it does take a little bit more creativity around your programming, but it is possible that you could do a variation of different exercises around the same weight of kettlebell. Again, it has more to do with programming, but very doable, saves a ton of space, but can be kind of arduous if you're trying to change weights from one exercise to the other. The same could almost be said for these. These are power blocks. I find these super effective, although their weight is only up to 24 pounds each, which I think is laughable. You can get extenders where you can add more weights. I don't know if they're here or not, but either way, you can get them so that they are heavier. This is just what's available on Amazon right now, but it basically allows a clip to go through and attach to each of these bars, so you can easily transition from 24 pounds to 21 and 18 and so on. Saves a ton of space again. I would just say that these are a little bit lighter than I would recommend, but you can add more weight to them. You just got to add more to it. Also, not the cheapest things in the world. You are going to save a little bit of money from buying just like each individual one. Again, this is more primary to saving space in your place, but again, pricey. So, if we were to add these two in, move that to cart and move that to cart, our budget goes from about $150 to $658. So that's why I left these two out, because you don't necessarily need them, especially if you're looking for a quick home workout where you just need to move a little bit or even stretch a little bit. with these 4 things, you're going to be able to do most, if not all of the things, or something very, very similar that's going to provide you a ton of benefit in a short period of time. Yeah, if you need some weight or some resistance, I mean, that's where you're going to have to make the decision to either go to a gym or buy into some adjustables, or like a size run of some different kettlebells or dumbbells. But I figured with these 4 things, you can travel with, I would say, the gliding discs, and the suspension trainer packs up pretty tight. You can travel it, throw this over a tree branch or a door frame in a hotel, or something that is going to allow you to be able to get in some movement without too much issue. The key thing with a lot of this stuff as well is you have to justify it, and you have to make the decision if you are actually going to use it. Because so many people buy gym fitness equipment and then it just ends up in the garage sale the next year because they use it for about 2 weeks and then it just doesn't get used. So you have to justify its viability if you're actually going to use it. And this way, I would say $150 isn't too much to spend, and I would even say with the sliders and the suspension trainer, so at $60, $70, it's not too bad of an investment to make to allow you to do some extra movement at home without much of, like, you're not going to be sinking $600 in and then have to resell it in the garage sale next year or donate it. It's going to be a little bit more economical this way. But I have had a ton of benefit from using these minimal pieces of equipment, and I thought I would share now that Black Friday is coming up, and it will allow you to, if you are interested in this, this is where I would start, because when I was initially looking into this, it got a little out of hand, a little too fast, and I don't want you guys to soak or sink a bunch of money into something that you're not going to use. I hope that you found some value in that, and we'll see you in the next segment. This week's exercise is the hover buckle up. It combines 2 really good exercises known as the hover and then the slider buckle up. So what you want to do when you set up is get your knees under your hips and your hands and wrists underneath your shoulders. You want your hands on the sliders, and what you're going to do is simulate similar to what you would do in an actual buckling up your seatbelt motion, but you're just taking the arm, taking it away from center of gravity, and then bringing it to the opposite hip. So you're really just doing this cross motion, as you can see that I am doing. So this is predominantly a core exercise with a little bit of upper body as well, but it really challenges that dynamic core as you're reaching away and then as you're reaching across. So you have, instead of having 4 points of contact, you have 3, which makes it that much more challenging, and then you got to move the shoulder too. So overall, a great core and just exercise in general. So give it a try and let us know how it goes. Man, that is really small. Clearly my spacing is totally off, but that's okay. This week's tip of the week is to record your wins. What I'm talking about here is anything that you had go really well this week, either it was your habit or you made progress on your goal, something that it doesn't even actually have to be related to any of that. It could be that the barista remembered your name as they handed you a coffee, or that somebody paid for your coffee, or anything that you consider a win. You woke up on time. Sometimes that is too much to ask. Just kidding, you gotta wake up on time all the time. But anything that you had or you consider a win, I want you to record it. Alternatively, I want you to record anything that you have noticed in your gym lifestyle or your fit lifestyle, because whenever you feel down or like you're not making progress, or you feel just sort of crappy, tired, unmotivated, you can use whatever you wrote down in a piece of paper, a journal, any form on your phone, note-taking app, it doesn't matter. Record it down so that you can then go back and look at it again and look at where you've come from. And I like to tell this to a lot of new people because they don't necessarily remember what it was like to first start out, and some of the progress steps that they were making at the time, how they were feeling. That's when like the biggest points, or there's the most drastic change in those first early months. And when you're further on in the journey, you don't necessarily notice those. A lot of the later epiphanies in your fitness journey are more mental or mindset oriented. It's not, you feel more energy from from doing more exercise. At the end of the day, I'm rambling, but at the end of the day, I want you to record at least 2 things. One win in your fitness lifestyle and one win that is outside of your fitness lifestyle that went well. I want you to find a place that you can remember where this is going to be stored so that you can go back and revisit it and see how far you've actually come, and have that as a motivator for you. Give this a try and let me know how it works. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed it and got some value out of it. Please share it with one person that you think is going to be able to take some value out of it as well. And we hope that you have a phenomenal rest of your week. See you next time.